All right, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Dead Again is not one of my favorite movies ever.
Great,
So
thank
given
you.
given that to me that's one of the best thrillers, murder thrillers in terms of modern cinema. Did you think that what you learned on that prepared you for sort of a classic model that is Agatha Christie in this particular?
Well, it's a favorite film of mine that I've done, Dead Again. As you know, it features scissors, and
Yeah.
that world of that show. I remember thinking when I then rewatched Alfred Hitchcock's Dial M for Murder, and felt as though between that and this and Orient Express, that sort of atmosphere. Dark, noirish, but very sort of full-blooded atmosphere was something I wanted to try and recreate.
I love that I would say this is a very passionate, human, red-blooded version of Murder of the Orient Express. Was that something was that part of what you were going for?
Yes,
Okay.
there's an emotional quality to the book, I think, where the underlying motivations of revenge, crimes of passion, the poison of deep grief, really underneath various characters, I think gives a surprisingly moving quality to the end of the story. It surprises Poirot, and the idea was to shock him out of a position at the beginning of the story where he says there is right, there is wrong, there is nothing in between, and at the end maybe he has to think as a human and emotionally and experience it. Is there something in between, a grey area that I have to consider?
So obviously I'm a movie geek, so the fact that it was shot on 65 and all the things that you did technically are catnip to me.
Yeah.
But I wondered, for a regular moviegoer, what you want is to immerse them in the story and the world that you're creating. So explain to me how having it practical and the way that you shot it helps that experience for a regular moviegoer.
Well, the goal, as you say, was to put people on the train, and so the choice of 65mm with the definition and the clarity and the sort of human quality to it. The pixels are not locked in. You know, that silver is moving through celluloid. It sees a little more the way we see. And then from a practical point of view, in the performances, which are also key, we have spectacle. You know, we have Istanbul, we have the mountains, but we also got in 65mm the face of Michelle Pfeiffer, Johnny Depp, Judi Dench, etc. And we needed. We needed, I think, to give them a sort of practical experience of what was like being on the train. So when they ask what's happening this morning, and I tell them the train is leaving Istanbul station, and they say, yeah, but what's really happening? I say, no, it really is leaving Istanbul station, yeah.
That's awesome.
And they say no acting required.
Yeah, there you go. So there's a nice piece of dialogue where he explains how he sees the world and the details, and when the details are off. Do you think that sort of also playing him sort of put you in Uber director mode? Is that how you direct in terms of looking at the details, looking at the body language, what the actor is doing in the frame? Do you think that there's a correlation between how he sees the world and how you direct?
Well, I think there is a correlation, and yet what I try and do is arrive at that position as a jumping off point, so that you clear your mind in order to, in a scene with Johnny Depp or whomever, then play, having been as clear and ordered as you can be. But I hope to not share quite so much what Poirot does, which is that when those things are out of place, when there is disorder, it's painful. I mean, it's for him, it's painful, and there's a real cost, as he says. It makes most of life unbearable, but it is useful in the detection of crime.
There you go. But not so much in directing. You have to go with the chaos, right?
I think, yeah, exactly. The very good way of putting it. That you just, yes, you can't. In a way, you can't control things the way that Hercule Poirot might, but you can run up to it controlling, or at least preparing to lift off.
Okay. So this is a triple whammy because I'm a huge fan of yours. I'm a huge Agatha Christie. I've been reading her since I was a kid, and I've been in love with Michelle Pfeiffer since I was 8. So I get to ask you, what is it like to get to direct her in this role, and how was it harder to get her to convince to sing over the end credits as opposed, because she hasn't done that in a while? So tell me about everything about her.
She's fabulous. She's an astonishing professional in terms of the level of detail. Once you get past the difficulty of being close to her and her knee-trembling beauty, she is the most sort of regular but really focused professional collaborator. She's quite sort of interior, yes, and funny and sharp and dry-witted, but she takes her time to get to the place she needs to when she works, and then she just goes for it. She's
She was really a lovely collaborator. She said yes to the song almost immediately.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, she said, well, I just want to check. Let me go have some lessons first and see where my voice is. But then she gave a great performance to it, and I said, look, it's not so much about singing; it's about feeling this. And what you gave to the performance, which is an underneath, which is so surprising and passionate. That's what I'd like in the song. And so she was a joy to work with.
All right, well, pleasure talking to you, sir.
Thanks.